Opposed, nay. Mrs. Newell, any petitions or communications?
No.
Council members, any committee reports? Turn this over to Mr. Francis for liquor control license.
Thank you, Mr. President. We do have one liquor control license. This is for RHF Group LLC, DBA Bullocks Drive-Thru, Grocery and Lounge and Patio, 604 West High Street, first floor, in basement, Mount Vernon, Ohio, 43050. This is for a D1, D2, and a D3 license. D1 is ORC 4303.13, beer only for on-premises consumption or in sealed containers for carryout. D2 is ORC 4303.14, wine and mixed beverages for on-premises consumption or in sealed containers for carryout. And D3, ORC 4303.15, spirituous liquor for on-premises consumption only until 1 a.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And we have a proclamation. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Carl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring representatives from the Mount Vernon Players forward. Amy Stoner, John Nixon, and Ira Mowry. You can turn around and face the camera. Come over here and stand beside me. You're theater people. You love this, except for maybe John.
Oh, no, no, no. John, too.
What would
John,
Mount
too.
Vernon do without John Nixon working behind the scenes to make the rest of us look so great? We wouldn't have one. Yeah. I really feel honored tonight to present this proclamation to the Mount Vernon Players, a group that is very near and dear to my heart on their 50th anniversary as a group and organization in this community. Mount Vernon is very fortunate to have so many great performing art groups in our midst, which provide very high quality plays and musicals to our local audiences, while also attracting many audiences from many people from all over Central Ohio to come to our city and to visit it. And it all started in 1964 with the Mount Vernon Players. And so I'd like to read the following to them that the mayor put together. Whereas the Mount Vernon Players began in 1963 as a play reading group with a small group of people, and whereas the first production, Squaring the Circle, was presented May 13th, 1964 with 15 local cast members, and whereas on June 15th, 1964, nonprofit articles of incorporation were filed with the initial trustees, Carl Day, Mark Kinney, and Tony Coleman, and with Jim Cullors as agent, and whereas the original musical Blind Date, written by Carl Day and Dorothy Sardina, was performed in August 1964 and later at the Ohio State Fair, and whereas in 1965, the musical Music Man was the first major musical to be performed, followed by many more musicals, dramas, children's plays, and dinner theater productions. And whereas for over 50 years, the Players have been involved in the community service programs such as Beethoven Club, College Women's Club, Art Guild, Knox County Fair, caroling parades, youth theater, Dan Emmett Festival, Music and Arts Festival, and many, many more. And whereas the Players have provided a creative outlet for people of all ages and all walks of life, now, therefore, be it resolved by the administration and the council of the city of Mount Vernon, wish to honor and commend the Mount Vernon Players for entertaining us, supporting our youth, and making our community a better place. December 8th, 2014. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For all your things.
Just one note, Susan is past president 3 times a year.
That was many years ago. But I've really enjoyed you for so many years.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is persons speaking on matters not covered by legislation. We have one person that asked to speak, and that's Terry Wilkinson. Please come to the mic, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. President, council members, my name is Terry Wilkinson. I live at 603 West Burgess Street. I had a few questions and concerns about the project going on down along the riverbank down there behind American Can. I didn't find out about it until the middle of the summer when my granddaughter had come back crying because her spot that she liked to go to had been torn down and razed to the ground. And we didn't know what was going on. I would like to know if it's within your purview what is being built there, what the project consists of, and also I've got some concerns about the erosion of the river there, because my limited knowledge of geography, the roots and stuff is what keeps the ground from going into the river when we have flooding. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any preventative measures taken to keep all that from eroding up to the dike, whether it's a private project or is it city-based, and who I would take my concerns to if I had any further concerns in the future. Thank you.
It's basically a question for the administration. It's best to address them, maybe not during a council meeting, but if you want to address it now, you can, or you can have them address it later.
You know, this project's been in the making for, I think, maybe 7 years.
Okay.
The project is $2.2 million to clean up. The $300,000 assessment that we did really indicated there were some undesirable product there. Toluene was there, but the most dangerous one that was determined as far as an amount was lead, and lead was primarily on the west side of the dike. So we were fortunate to be able to get a Clean Ohio grant, but with Clean Ohio grant you still need 25% paid by either local government or by some other entity. In our case, city did not have the 25%. We were not going to pay it, but the owner, the current owner, is an international mining company called Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto's purpose is to clean up the project. They volunteered to pay the 25% of the $2.2 million cleanup. So from that, and Cameron Keaton, our city engineer, has been very close. He monitors the project. So once the money had been achieved, and once we had the cooperation of the current owner, then the project started to at least address the toluene and the lead that was in that about 44 and a fraction acres up there.
Was that from the ink leaks and stuff from when that was?
Yes, that was from the years of leakage. The toluene is pretty much, at least I interpret it as a paint thinner type that was in the soil. So that had to be addressed. But they had, over the years, burned a lead product that they made, spread the ash out over that area that's pretty much west of the dike that would be in the floodway. The division of that property, and Cameron, I want you to come up and talk a little bit more about specifics, and hopefully not to take up too much more than our 3 minutes, but the idea that we had was that the city will, at the conclusion of the project, once the Ohio EPA says to us that we have a clean site, they issue a no further action letter and say that we have met all of the volunteer action principles that are required. The site would be clean. We would expect to take about 16 acres, which includes the dikeway, all the land that's to the west of the dike, and also what we would consider, if you live up there, the Madison Street drainage ditch, because all of Sandusky Street drains into that area. We needed to maintain that. We needed to own it to be able to do that. The other acreage right now, which is basically 8 acres of concrete pad, what used to be the base of the old building, plus some additional acreage, will be gone to a firm called Blight to Bright, which is a solar energy company. Their plan is to put solar panels up there on the original 8 acres to generate electricity. Talking about looking at selling it to surrounding industry there. So that's where we are. And Cameron, do you want to come up? I don't, on time-wise, this idea of neutralizing the lead was done with, Cameron may want to explain that, but at least it seems like we made an effort to let everybody in the community know by every method and every media possible to tell people. And again, started about 7 years ago to get this done. Cameron.
Right. I'll try and fill in the gaps for you a little bit. They went up there and we actually removed 2 feet of the actual soil that was up there. Part of our requirement by Ohio EPA is remove that top 2 feet, treat it, and then it had to be treated before it could be actually trucked off site. And so that's the white powdery substance that you'll see up there. The excavation next to the river is actually the last phase of this project. And if you spend any time up there fishing, you can actually see the old foil wrapping and stuff that used to hang out of the bank in there. So that's where we're actually cutting that bank back, and it will be stabilized. It will have some rock channel down along the edges. There'll actually be some matting and stuff that goes back in there. And then we'll re-stabilize that bank with grass cover, vegetation, and then probably at some point in time we'll have trees planted back out there as well. So I do know that we took a lot of the big trees down, some big old cottonwoods that were out there, but unfortunately a lot of that debris was wrapped in around the roots of those trees, and so just by trying to dig around them and remove the waste really would have killed the tree anyway. So we took them down. So is there any other questions?
Yeah, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That was great. Yeah.
Now we're going on to the legislative portion of the meeting, council, and we do have two changes that from your original packet. One is the resolution 2014-106. There was a wording change. There's a sentence removed from that one, so you have the current one in front of you. The other one was changed this evening during committee meeting. That's ordinance 2014-22, and that just changed the dates from January 1st to February 1st, and from at the end at May 31st to June 30th. So those dates were changed. Any other changes to our legislative agenda? Otherwise, I'll assume it's approved by consensus. Thank you. We'll move on to resolutions for third reading and second reading. We have none. So resolutions for first reading, the first one is 2014-97. Mrs. Newell?
That's for second reading.
Oh, second reading, I'm sorry.
Resolution number 2014-97, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Mount Vernon to accept the donation of 0.016 acres from Robert L. Kirk, located at the northeast corner of Worcester Road and McGivney Road.
Mrs. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to suspend the rule requiring 3 separate readings and take this resolution to its third and final reading tonight.
Second.
Moved and second for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Newell?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Bale?
Yes.
The rule is suspended. Mrs. Carl?
I'd like to move for passage of Resolution 2014-97.
Second.
And moved and seconded for the adoption of this resolution. Any discussion? Mrs. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have a committee meeting on this earlier, and I don't know if there are members of the audience that are here that need an explanation. But this piece of legislation has to do with the realignment of the property, or the intersection of Worcester Road and McGivney Road. And I don't know if we need any further, to spend the time doing any further discussion of this. Are there any questions or any?
Anybody have any questions? If not, Mrs. Newell?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Bale?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted. Next resolution is resolution number 2014-99. Mrs. Newell?
Resolution number 2014-99, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to accept an easement from Knox County Properties Incorporated over a 1.718 acre portion of parcel 12-02650 as shown on Exhibit A and described in Exhibit B.
Mrs. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. President. I, again, would like to suspend the rule requiring 3 separate readings and take this resolution to its third and final reading.
Second.
And moved and seconded for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Newell?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Bale?
Yes.
The rule is suspended. Mrs. Carl?
I'd like to move for passage of Resolution 2014-99.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the adoption of this resolution. Any discussion? Mrs. Carl?
This was also part of our committee meeting that we had earlier this evening, and as the mayor explained, that this will give us an easement over the dikeway that we need, and will give us a continuous easement, I think you told me, from the West High Street Bridge to the viaduct. And this was a little piece that we did not have control over, I guess you would say. So did you want to add anything to that for the newer audience that are now assembled?
Thank you, Mrs. Carl. I related to council earlier that we had looked at this piece, and many people know where the Glass Garden Greenhouse is, so this is just south of it where the dike is. And we looked at that before, and we were told that that section, that 1.7 acres, would be about $25,000. It was purchased. We now have an owner that's willing to give us this easement. You pretty much said it fills in a gap that we had in our dike right-of-way there. This is a good thing.
Yeah. And I don't think we had any concerns about this at all from our prior committee
If it
meetings.
isn't clear, this is being offered at no charge to the city.
At no charge, yes. Yes, by the current owner.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vail?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted. Next resolution is Resolution 2014-103. Mrs. Knoll?
Resolution number 2014-103, a resolution to grant an easement in the city right-of-way of Blackberry Alley.
Mr. Fair?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to have this serve as second reading.
Resolution 2014-103 receives a second reading. We now move on to resolutions for first reading. The first one is Resolution 2014-104. Mrs. Knoll?
Resolution number 2014-104, a resolution authorizing and directing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with the Board of County Commissioners of Knox County, Ohio, for the housing of prisoners in the Knox County Jail for the year 2015 and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Hillier?
Thank you, Mr. President. I motion to suspend the rule for 3 separate readings. Take Resolution 2014-104 to its third and final reading, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vail?
Yes.
The rule is suspended. Mr. Hillier?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage Resolution 2014-104, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the adoption of this resolution. Any discussion? Mr. Hillier?
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, you were given a piece of paper earlier tonight, which is actually the agreement from the county commissioners. And Mr. Glass would like to finalize this before the end of the year. We have, if you look at the second page there, number 3, we're going to pay the county a total annual sum of $237,277.77 payable in different installments. This is quite a bit less than what we did last year and the year prior.
Yeah, this is the amount that we discussed at that city-county meeting, and I think Terry can confirm that. So.
Exactly. It's exactly what Mr. Scott had proposed. This is due to, I know and I'll bring it up one more time, but in the 9 years I've sat at that meeting with the county commissioners, it's the first time that I think it took about 5 minutes, and it was due to a lot of people working prior to the meeting, a sheriff having a more up-to-date system that shows exactly who's in prison for what reasons, how many days. Mr. Scott, administration, I do appreciate all the work on this. So that's why we're passing it tonight, so we can get it done.
And what's different about this resolution than previous ones, it is a 3-year agreement as opposed to an annual agreement, which makes it, we don't have to do this every year for the next 2 years now.
Yes.
So appreciate
Well,
that.
another change is that this is for misdemeanors rather than felonies.
Mr. Glass, you care to comment on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Nancy.
This is for misdemeanors.
Oh, I don't know that it's
According to the
specifically for
legislation.
misdemeanors. It's for the housing of prisoners at the jail. Does it say
Well,
that?
that's true, but it says in the legislation, all adult persons sentenced for misdemeanors for violations of ordinances of the city of Mount Vernon.
Well, what we discovered in this project was that the city doesn't have the authority to arrest anybody on a felony. So anytime we arrest somebody, it's always on a felony, if it's a felony charge. Misdemeanors, of course, the city ordinances take care of that. And so that's why we're really arresting people on a misdemeanor and taking them to the jail, and he's covered by the contract.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Next resolution this evening is Resolution 2014-105. Mrs. Knoll?
Resolution number 2014-105, a resolution authorizing and directing the auditor of the City of Mount Vernon to transfer certain funds.
Mr. Harrier?
Thank you, Mr. President. I motion to suspend the rule for 3 separate readings. Take Resolution 2014-105 to its third and final reading, please.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
The roll is suspended. Mr. Harrier?
Motion to adopt Resolution 2014-105, please.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for the adoption of this resolution. Any discussion? Mr. Harrier?
Thank you. I'm going to have Mr. Scott come up here. We have 18 transfers. It must be December.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he can do this quite speedily. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrier and Council. We do have a shopping list here, but a lot of it's consolidated, and I'm going to touch on just the more high points of some of them here. The first one is for $22,800 for income tax refunds. You know, when we first set our appropriations for this particular line account, we stab in the dark as to what we think we should start at. We did usually start at $130,000. We've exceeded that, and the income tax administrator has indicated she has pending refunds to be processed before the end of the year, so we'll fund for that as well. And let's see, if we go into 5 and 6 combined, those are chemicals for the water treatment plant. 7, 8, and 9. This is $41,000 for bond retirement. I did take a look in my records. The mayor had asked me about this earlier today, and we did have a department head who underestimated what our actual bond retirement should have been, but we'll get this corrected and adjusted. Number 10 for $9,000 PERS contributions for the water system employees and everybody in the water departments. Also, distribution employees on number 11 for $7,500. That will finish up the salaries. A lot of this is salary adjustments that are going to come in here for the end of the year. Item 12 for $17,000. Again, we'll adjust the collections departments of the wastewater side of the employees for that one. And then 13 through 15 for $67,000. Again, for the bond retirement on the wastewater side. And then on item 16, we'll be moving $50,000 again to bond retirement out of the wastewater reserve fund, and bond retirement on number 17 for $100,000 from the water reserve fund. Get all those things readjusted and cleaned up. And number 18 is the last one, and Mrs. Carl just had a resolution on another piece of product that it has to do with that Worcester McGibney Road project. You know, this is the wrap-up of the final costs on that for $10,000. It was change orders to cover up the rest of the work that was finished up there, and I think that was a nice project. It did a very good realignment. So those are the pending ones we have for now, Mr. Hilliard.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Next resolution is Resolution 2014-106. Mrs. Knoll?
Resolution number 2014-106, a resolution of support for the proposed acquisition and rehabilitation of the Meadow Ridge Apartments by the Provident Companies of Mansfield, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Mrs. Vale?
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a gentleman here last meeting who discussed this issue with us. This is a repeat from last year where the Provident Companies from Mansfield are seeking some grant funds in order to upgrade these apartments at, oh goodness, not Tilden Avenue.
Fallen.
Fallen
Avenue.
Fallen Avenue, yes, Fallen Avenue. And there are a number of these, 48 family units, and they're affordable units, 100% affordable, thus they can seek these grant funds. And this is legislation that will be supportive, just simply to say, yes, we think that the state of Ohio should grant this funding for upgrading of these apartments. There is no financial obligation for the city in this. So with that, Mr. President, I would move for suspension of the rule, which requires 3 separate readings for Resolution 2014-106.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Newell.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
The rule is suspended. Mrs. Vale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are there any questions from council?
Let's get the motion on the floor, then we'll...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. I would move for passage of Resolution 2014-106.
Second.
Does anyone have any
I do.
comments?
Moved and seconded.
Yes.
I would just like some clarification on how does this current application relate to the one we supported last year, and what's the progress?
Well,
on
they
the
did not
project to
receive
date?
the funding last year.
So they didn't do
So
anything?
they're reapplying this year.
Okay.
There are just X number of dollars available and many applicants. So they're hopeful
Okay.
that this year they will be included.
But they have a little bit of extra person, a young gentleman that is sort of like a support services type of personnel that I think is a little extra addition to the equation that we met last week or a couple weeks ago, that it was interesting that they were going to be doing some of the support services for the residences. Yeah.
Mr. Brown, I could be off in the numbers a little bit, but I think last year they got 92 points out of 95, and they're hoping to get 95 points out of 95, and they're trying to do, this person's helping them get the other 3 points they need to be more likely to get the grant. Even if you have 95 points, you're not guaranteed, because so many people are applying, but they need to at least be at that level.
Got it. Thank you.
Very competitive.
If I could, Mayor, I don't know how they receive this, whether they get a call from you, you send a letter, however it is, but I think it'd be nice to remind the gentleman that met with us that, you know, we had talked to him about how some of the residents weren't happy on how they planned on doing the remodeling, how some of them weren't happy with having to move out and never move back in again. And remind you of the fact that, yes, people live in an apartment for a lot of years, they do consider that their home. That whether it be the corner, the middle, or wherever that is. And I know it, he said, yes, they'd look into it, but I think council's standing out here saying, we're going to support this. And I think by showing that, we at least ought to be able to get something back from them that says, we care about the people that live there. And with that, I guess I'm sitting here thinking, too, boy, I would like to see this Provident company, and I'm sure this is not the only property like this they have, but if you're a landlord that owns a property on any street given in Mount Vernon, you have to put the money you get from rent back into that property. And they're getting a nice little gift here from the state of Ohio that says, we're going to give you money to keep your property up. So it'd be nice to see them maybe make an effort also in the future as you give them this that says, maybe keep the property up as you go. And you might not have to do this, come back to council for support. I mean, they're talking new roofs, remodeling the insides, just things that you have to do as tenants, you know, as your building gets older. So I think along with the pat on the back says we're going to support this, maybe remind him of a couple of things that he might want to do for the future for us, or at least for me.
We can do that.
Thank you.
You've probably already written that letter, have you not, Mayor?
Actually, since we had our last meeting, Tanya's done some extended communication with the director up there and found that the letter was no longer necessary. And so what we're doing here tonight is about all we need to do at this point. They've changed the rules on what's required from the local government. What you've done tonight is basically say, we recognize this project is in our city and we support it. So that's what they really need. So that's what they're going to get.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mrs. Newell.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Siebel?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted, and that concludes the resolutions for this evening. We now move on to ordinances, and the first ordinance is ordinance for third reading. That's ordinance number 2014-20. Mrs. Snow.
Ordinance number 2014-20, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of 17795 Coshocton Road, parcel number 49-00050, from the present zoning of Monroe Township Agricultural to R1 Single Family District, GB General Business District, and PND Planned Neighborhood District.
Mrs. Vale.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to move for passage, but I'm going to also ask that our engineer, Cameron, come to the microphone so that he will be able to answer any questions council may have at this
Let's get a
point.
second first before, so it's on the floor.
Yes, I'm just telling you what
Okay.
I'm going to do.
Second.
Okay, now.
Thank you, Cameron, for coming to the microphone. Council, what kinds of questions do you have? John, you had some questions?
I've
with
already been
regard-
answered.
So
They've
you-
been answered. I'm
You feel
fine.
satisfied? Does council have any other questions? John's questions were with regard to the water runoff from this piece of property. Would you like to elaborate on that for us, please, Cameron?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it recently, but I do remember, I think we brought that up and looked at it at one point in time, that the concern was that this would add additional runoff or drainage to Adams Run, and I think what we looked at is it would not. It actually, the primary area that it would drain into is the area that goes out through the developmental center and ties directly in the center run out there, but would not drain into Adams Run. With that being said, any development that takes place on that property under our current rules and regulations for stormwater, it has to be controlled running off that site. So any development that takes place out there cannot allow any more runoff off that site than what currently takes place, the way it exists right now as farm ground.
Another question I've heard, unless someone wants to say it, is with regard to the traffic.
Right.
How do you respond to that?
I would say that depending on what the development is and how fast it phases, what I would recommend is a traffic impact study be done by the developers so that you look at the big picture and how this thing's going to be developed out. And if there's roadway improvements that need to be done, I would think that would be the developer's responsibility.
When you
When
say you
shouldn't be.
think, is it their responsibility or is it ours?
It typically, if it's something as a result of their development, if they need sanitary sewer, they need water lines and that type of thing, usually the developer is responsible, and I think our code reflects that the developer is responsible to make those improvements to serve that site. So if traffic is part of that, if they need turn lanes or they need traffic signals or whatever it may take, it is the developer's responsibility to put those in.
So when do we determine that? If we're going to build just 10 houses to begin with?
Well, the traffic impact study would look at the entire development as it moves through the next 10 years, right?
Right. And I would recommend with the developers that you get some type of agreement or something in place. Like you said, Mike, maybe you're only putting in 1 or 2 buildings and it's not that big of an impact, but what happens as things grow? I mean, Shockton Avenue is a good example of that. You know, things just keep growing and growing and growing. So unless you've got something in place that makes them responsible for those improvements in the future, then you're going to be hung out to dry. It's gonna be
What
an
about
issue.
the impact of 36, where the general business is? Who's responsible for upgrades of that?
That would be the developer. You know, if it requires additional turn lanes or whatever it may be to get traffic in and out of these developments by a new entrance, those types of things. We would obviously, me as an engineer, we would look at it and try and minimize the amount of curb cuts that we have or entrances on and off of 36. But I would see that there would at least be one, and then they would have to look at that and see how it would impact it. Absolutely.
With the amount of traffic that you would be putting in a general business of 12 acres in the area that it's in, can the city ask that, and I've said before, one of my biggest concerns is traffic. One of them, I'll state, is right there on 36, where it impacts coming out of Jobs and Family Services, the county water and sewer, in that one straightaway. Can the city ask for those improvements be done before it's developed? So we're not sitting here waiting until the first head-on and saying, now we're going to do the
Well,
improvement.
that would be the purpose of the traffic impact study, is that you're going to look at that. There again, I think you're going to have to be a little bit flexible that we've got one building, one development, maybe it's an office building or an insurance agent or whatever it may be that goes into that location. They're not going to be a big traffic generator at that location. But if you get 5 or 10 or 15 of those in there, then that's a different story. So that's something that would probably assume that their development would have to go to Planning Commission, something to be discussed there. But it's not something I think that should be ignored. It definitely should be looked at when you're looking at a site that's this big.
There's only 12 acres that's general business.
Yeah, but
Only.
even residential stuff, people coming and going in the mornings and that type of thing, so.
That's 3 times bigger than the Staples Center.
So.
What about Pandora Bread? They do that study because we had a problem with that coming out as people were going up the
Yeah, they
hill,
did,
and
they
then they
did.
had to put a stop sign there. They didn't pay to have that done ahead of time?
Not a traffic impact study, because that's all up on private property there. And it comes to a signalized intersection, so it's controlled at that location, but we knew that they were going to be generating, and they knew what the issues were going to be when they built there, so those were conversations we had with
It
them.
was discussed, yeah.
It was discussed long before they built there, and they still
And the
built
one
there.
right next to Dairy Queen, all those offices, that was
Right,
all.
right, yep. And one of the things that we've done there is that we've forced them into one entrance and exit between Dairy Queen and the shopping center there. Same thing with Bob Evans up the hill. When someone develops on that vacant lot next to Bob Evans, east of Bob Evans, there's one entrance in and out of there. So,
Okay.
we're trying to minimize the amount of curb cuts we have and kind of focus traffic into certain areas. So.
Any other questions, council? Just as a reminder, this has gone before the commission, and they have approved this, so it would take 6 votes, 6 negative votes to overturn this decision.
I would like to say to Dr. and Mrs. Beckett that if we should pass this zoning of your beautiful plat, the city is placing much trust in you and wishing you well in creating a development for which both you and the city can be proud. All of us will be watching with great expectations.
Nancy, can I say something?
Certainly.
The Beckett's have been pretty forthcoming all along with us and with their vision. And I think from the very first meeting, they found out they were going to have opposition. And they could, at that point, decided not for going for annexation. They could have stayed where they were at, and the traffic and everything still would have came the same way, even though we had nothing to do with it. But yet, they continued going on that route, trying to make everybody happy. Even though I know their neighbors, it's hard to accept change. But I think because of Rod's father, they definitely want to make this something nice because they love Mount Vernon. They have 2 successful sons that aren't going to come back to us. Sorry, they don't know this is the best place, but they're not coming back.
Well, that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, but if something would happen that we would lose both of them, then they would inherit the property. And in such that they don't live here, they probably would sell it to whoever was the highest bidder, not caring what would happen to it.
Maybe
So
a
we're
big
very
lot.
lucky to have the Backus wanting to proceed with this and go through all the problems they've had. So I appreciate everything you both have done. Thank you.
Mrs. Ville, if I could,
Yes.
since we're offering statements, I too appreciate the Beckett's. I think they know that. But I also have said many, many times, if we annex this, and we're going to, not annex it, I'm
already
sorry.
annexed.
We zone it, it's been annexed. We're forced, annexation type 2. What's next? The next guy down the street says, let's annex, let's keep going. You have to look in your mind and say, okay, I'm on this council, I'm going to be on this council for so long, where, in my mind, is the plan? I understand the city of Mount Vernon must grow. The planning commission stood up here, I attended those meetings, and one of the planning commission members said, I'd really like to see it go out Harcourt Road. I really think we got to start developing that way, but I know everybody wants to be on Coshocton Road, so I'm voting yes. As long as we still vote yes for Coshocton Road, we'll get further and further to Gambier. We're going to eat up more agricultural land, and we'll never go out Harcourt Road where we have the water and sewer waiting for development.
Well, this has already been annexed.
I understand that.
And before that, the owners of the property would have been free to have sold it to a big box company, a Lowe's, a Home Depot, or something like that. I would agree with Mrs. Seabolt that we're fortunate that this is going to be a development that is a nice neighborhood development.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Knoll?
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
No.
Mr. Fair?
No.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vail?
Yes.
By a vote of 5 to 2, ordinance 2014-20 is approved. There are no ordinances this evening for second reading. The final ordinance is one for first reading. That's ordinance number 2014-22. Mrs. Snow.
Ordinance number 2014-22, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2012-25 to provide for an additional income tax assistant in the city income tax office commencing on February 1st, 2015, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the rules requiring 3 separate readings and take this to its third and final reading.
I second.
Moved and seconded for the suspension of the rules. Any discussion on the suspension? Mrs. Snow.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vail?
Yes.
The rule is suspended. Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt ordinance 2014-22.
I second.
Moved and seconded for the adoption of this resolution. Any discussion? Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have a committee meeting on this. There was a bit of a lengthy discussion on it, but I think most of it prevailed that we do have the funds to take care of this. Bud, if you wanted to step up here, the clarification of the dates, February 1, 2015 to June 30th, 2015.
Yes, that was our request.
And this is actually not using the word temporary, but a training
That's correct.
time.
We are in the process of adding, will be in the process of adding additional person in order to train as we move forward and for the planned retirement of our tax administrator.
And should this go past June 30th, that individual would be
because
gone?
at that point in time, we will be back to the present headcount of 2 tax assistants, clerical assistants, and 1 tax administrator.
Thank
So
you.
after June 30th, we will be in the same situation, same headcount as we are today.
Thank you.
This
Did
is
anybody else?
This is a matter of using it as a training tool for all the things that we need to go through in the tax department.
Anybody else have any questions?
Any other questions?
Did you ask earlier about the position of retirement? Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah.
I just want to commend Mr. Crutch and Mr. Scott for thinking ahead. This is a critical office in the city, and to have trained people ready to step into new positions and not have them wait until next tax season and face it without the experience is a great idea.
Thank you.
If I could, I will say this. I've been into that office several times, Bud, and if it's the lady sitting in the back is the one we're training for the position, I will say this. I stop in there unannounced several times, and she can well back me for that. And I will say it's a well-run office. I mean, Mrs. Tyson has done, I don't know how many years she's been there in this position, but I think she's done a very good job.
2006, I believe, she was promoted to that position.
Very
She's
professional.
been in the office since '89.
Very professional office. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I'll pass that on to the
Thank you.
person.
Mrs. Snow.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mrs. Seabolt?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
That
Mrs.
concludes
Vail.
the...
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Jump right in there.
Got to be a little faster there. I missed that. Speed it up a little bit.
He wants to go home. He must have a TV show
I know.
to watch.
I got home at 2 o'clock this morning from trip, so I'm a little tense. Remarks and administration. Mayor Mavis.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Council, I think on your desk tonight was the annexations from 1990 through 2014. I was motivated because of some of the statements that were made back when the Beckett property first came about. But between 2002 and 2014, we've annexed 463 acres and a fraction. Much of that, or at least 125 of that, was Foundation Park, which was a gravel pit, not farm ground. But if you looked at your 2012 County Comprehensive Update, it says there, page 4, in section 3, I believe, it says that During the years between 2002 and 2007, 10,823 acres of farmland, an average of 2,165 acres per year, was lost to, I assume, development. I'm not sure where that all came from, but not from the city of Mount Vernon, seems. But those kind of things we need to look at because, you know, as far as, you know, Harcourt Road being in the township, Coshocton Road, a lot of it being in the city, those are things that we all have to look at. But on there, Food for the Hungry is coming up this weekend. Our nice building here will be converted to a studio and activity going on to raise funds. They had the gala, which was a kickoff last Friday night. It was very successful. So I hope people will be aware that this Saturday is Food for the Hungry. The folks do a great job of pulling that together. Also, we've all read in the newspaper about the county highway and the county engineer that's changing some of his policies. But for us, on starting tonight, December the 8th, 2014, through March 27th, 2015, we will have 2 people working at night, through the night from 11 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. Reason for that, in the city of Mount Vernon, especially in the East End where we have hills, a little bit of wet rain like we're supposed to maybe get tonight, or some ice or some snow, it takes a long time to get those people called in, get in the trucks and that sort of thing. With 2 people out here, we can get 2 trucks on the streets. We can address the hills out in the East End. We think that's valuable. This is not the first year we've done that. We've done it prior years and it seemed to work out well. There is more confusion on mailings. Recently, we received, one of our council members brought in something from AEP Energy. Now, AEP Energy is where we have our aggregation with electricity. But AEP, like many other, they're in the gas business now also, natural gas business. So they're offering you 24 months at 0.599. I think it's a little higher than we're paying. You can find out if you're on the city plan, look at the back of your bill, you can find out what we're paying here. Remember, they're saying on one of the documents that if you sign up for their plan and you want to get out before the end of the 24 months, you pay $10 a month that's left in your contract. There would also be, if you want to get out of your city contract, there would also be something to pay there. So these are things that I know this is very confusing. It's probably confusing about what I'm saying here tonight, but if you have questions, Tanya's real good, and so is Dee, at fielding a lot of these questions. So we encourage people if they have questions about that. And I think that is everything. I would mention also Toys for Tots at the fire department. Mount Vernon Fire does a great job. They will collect your toys or your new toys or donations. Money stays locally here for the children who are going to have less than a great Christmas. With that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Service Director.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Crutch. Anything? Mr. Scott?
Nothing further.
Ms. Whitney?
Nothing from the Law Director's Office, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. Harrier?
Thank you. I do have a couple items. Friendlies. If anybody drove by today, they boarded their windows. They closed it. They've closed 14 stores here in Ohio. I found out today. They boarded over their windows. To me, it appears we're going to have another middle school. Do we not have an ordinance on the records about boarding over windows? If we,
We'll certainly review them in the morning.
I think we need to look hard and strong at what they're, at the entrance to Coshocton Avenue to our business district, we have a building that's sitting with a sign that's empty through the middle and boarded over plywood windows. And when the owner of that store pulled out, I talked to a manager today. They knew it when their delivery truck didn't show up. So that's how much he cares about Mount Vernon. That's how they notified the management. So the sooner we can get on that, the better. I think it would be much better with glass in the windows and plywood over it for people coming into Mount Vernon. Why we're talking about Coshocton Avenue, many, many people still ask, and I'll ask. Friday night at 5:45, I'm heading back to the Staples area, and I'm looking at Chuck Flynn's property for an extended period of time because of traffic. Where are we on Coshocton? Are we going to change it? Are we still looking? What are we doing?
We're going to change it. Mr. Keaton is here, and Cameron and I have had extensive conversation about that. We do have pretty much the feedback from the state of Ohio, ODOT. ODOT built the project, they designed the project, contract was theirs. I suppose by now they think they probably made an error, and everyone thinks all we have to do is change the striping, but that takes a lot more than that, Mike, and it's going to cost some money. We know where we're going to get the money from. We're going to take it from the TIF district. Design should be finished, and as the season breaks this coming year, we should be able to change that. But it is not inexpensive, and it will take some confusion by the time we get the light poles changed, get the old lines taken out, some widening, but it's we are working on the plan, and we hope to get it implemented. But for this season, people that are traveling that on a regular basis probably going to experience some delays.
Mr. Mayor, does the state accept any liability for a poorly designed project that we help pay for?
At least the meetings I've been in, I'd say that they're willing to look at, and they've helped us with some reassessing. But unless Cameron has a different opinion than I have, I don't think that we can say that they have accepted any responsibility on that.
Part of that project, if you remember, was done with what they call safety funds. It's a separate grant just for safety funds. And part of that agreement is that we had to agree into as a city that once they made the improvements, we had to leave them in place for a certain period of time. We couldn't come out there and just change them right off the bat. So that's why we really have been working with ODOT through this whole process, is because there's 90% of that project was paid with grant money.
Sidewalks and
a lot of sidewalks, eliminating some of the driveways, the one we took out at Kroger, so there are safety improvements out there. Our fear is that if we go out there and make some changes without the approval of ODOT and the grant agencies, that we could be liable for paying that money back. And so we're treading very carefully here that we do not cross any lines. So that's why we're continuing to keep ODOT in the loop. ODOT realizes that we've got an issue, and we've been through numerous conversations with them. We've even had outside consultants come in. Actually, ODOT hired outside consultants to come in and do traffic time studies and that type of thing. They are aware that we've got an issue here, and the changes that they made did not improve things. It improved things westbound, but eastbound has made things worse. We are now currently working on a new plan. The problem with the new plan is that it would widen the roadway towards Chipotle, which means enclosing that ditch.
Oh.
When you enclose the ditch, you got all your environmental agencies and everybody else that gets involved with that. So those are the things that we're trying to work through right now. It's probably going to be a long, drawn-out process, but we're going to see what we can get done here as quickly as we can. So that's to give you the Cliff Notes version.
And
of
just
what
to
we're
wind it
working
up real quick, the change made with the stoplight on Park Street at Center and Coshocton Avenue.
We moved the stop bars back.
Well, you moved the stop bar back, but you also changed the timing on that light. And it's the residents in that area are very appreciative. It went from maybe 2 cars to get through there as a left turn till now you can at least get 4, 5, 6 cars to make a left turn, and it's they appreciate it. And also that moving that stop block back did help.
Right. Yep.
So it's appreciated from the people in that residence. Thank you.
Just to add one thing to it, Cameron talked about safety funds. That was the highest area that had the highest frequency of accidents in the city, and accidents have been reduced. Now, some would laugh at me and say, well, that's because no one's moving.
Yeah.
But
there wasn't too many
accidents have been reduced.
Thank you. Mrs. Carl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to once again congratulate the Mount Vernon players on their 50th anniversary, 50 years of entertaining our community. Thank you.
Mrs. Siebel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to add to the mayor that the Toys for Tots do not wrap the presents, and they do take money. If you would like to not shop, just give them money. They would greatly appreciate that, and they will get the toys for them. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Fair.
And nothing this evening, sir.
Mrs. Dale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'd like to comment too, Cameron, with the fact that there are a lot of people who are trying to access Coshocton Avenue and have to wait an awfully long time in order to get onto Coshocton Avenue. It really is painful sometimes. So if you can look at that also and reduce that time, or at least have the cameras be able to make those changes a little more quickly than what they are sometimes. And then two, it's hard for more than one, maybe two cars to get out when the light changes. So if you can look into that, we'll appreciate that too, please. I'd like to say that I read in the paper tonight that once again Karen Buchwald Wright has been very gracious in providing another need for our community. She is providing funds so that the streets in downtown Mount Vernon, the sidewalks, can be handled to make them safe for people who want to walk in the downtown when the weather is inclement throughout the winter. And we certainly do appreciate what Karen does for us. But I also want to remind you that each of us can help our community, and we have a responsibility to do so. Right now, it's coming into a time of year when we're all giving gifts to others, and we're spending some money. What money we spend here in our own community turns over to protect jobs and to keep merchandise in the stores here so that you don't have to travel elsewhere in bad weather to find what you need. And I know that there is some beautiful merchandise, there's beautiful apparel in stores here in Mount Vernon, and everything that you can hope to need. If you don't find it in the stores, they can order it for you, just as stores in Mansfield and Columbus and other locations can. So please think about supporting those who work in the stores and keeping our stores open. There are larger companies that are closing stores all over this country. And if we support the businesses here in our own community, hopefully ours will not be among those that are closed. So please think about your fellow man here in Mount Vernon, Ohio, when you spend your money for Christmas. Thank you. God bless.
Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd first like to thank the Seabold family for escorting us through the parade.
Oh, yes.
That was
yes.
very thoughtful.
Thank you.
They did all the decorations, had nice hats, and I really appreciated that. That was top notch. And then I would like to say thank you to Mr. Wilkerson for coming in. Your concern, some people would just nod their head and keep moving. Although it's, as the mayor said, it's been a project that's been in play for 7 years, maybe 7+. But you took the time because you care about your community. And I just want you to know thank you for that. It just shows that we do have common sense citizens out there that they see something going on, they're going to come to the place where they can find out what's going on. And then last but not least, with all the stuff going on around this country, this is a fine time to shake a hand of a police officer, thank a fireman, and I'm going to say hug an EMT. That we just don't know how good we got it in this county, this community, and they're top notch. So we can't thank them enough and let them know that they're doing a fine, decent job. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Brony.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. I'd just like to amplify the mayor's comments on Food for the Hungry and congratulate Kenyon College on their 3rd annual Food for the Hungry Gala, which kicks off the Food for the Hungry giving season last Saturday, or Friday night, I should say, Friday night. More than $30,000 was contributed at Gala, so it's a great jump start to this coming weekend's events. And also at that event, a name familiar to many in the community, Gordy Yance, was honored with the 3rd annual William A. Stroud Community Service Award. And I want to congratulate Gordy again publicly. A well-deserved honor on his part, and thank everybody who contributed and all those who will contribute this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. A good meeting this evening. I'd like to also thank the media, WMVO, Mount Vernon News, Knox Pages, and Time Warner for broadcasting this session of Council. That being said, a call for adjournment.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Then moving to second, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.